Well, good evening. Welcome into Finnerty. I'm Rob Finnerty. I'm grateful to be here with you tonight. I want this to be a place where you can come for information that you trust every single night. And what a time to launch a brand new show. All right, so 28 days from the election, 4 weeks to the day, and I feel like we hear this every 4 years. This is going to be the most important election of our lifetimes, but this time it actually is, certainly for me, and that's not hyperbole. What happens in 28 short days will impact everything for generations. Kids, your grandkids, their children. This is not Clinton Dole 1996 or Bush Dukakis 1988 or even Ford versus Carter. So tonight, Finnerty begins. For those who might not know me or be familiar with me, I've hosted the morning show here at Newsmax for the last 4 years. I'm here fighting for you. And I promise you that between tonight and November the 5th, we're going to follow this race. Donald J. Trump, a former president with a following the likes of which we've never seen in modern politics, versus a historic first. The first female vice president in Kamala Harris, but maybe more importantly, she's also historic because not a soul on earth has ever voted for her to be president. Not in 2020, certainly not in 2024. No one's ever voted for Kamala in a primary. She's never won a delegate. But despite that, many Americans, millions in fact, are going to vote for this woman in 28 days. And they have no idea what she stands for or what she plans to actually do if she's elected. And that's where I want to start. That's where I want to start this very first night of Finnerty, with the election, because there's so much at stake. And it turns out that even Kamala is a little bit confused about the whole "we like to vote for candidates here in America" thing.
A quarter of registered voters still say they don't know you. They don't know what makes you tick. And why do you think that is? What's the disconnect?
It's an election, Bill. And I take it seriously that I have to earn everyone's vote. This is an election for President of the United States. No one should be able to take for granted that they can just declare themselves a candidate and automatically receive support. You have to earn it. And that's what I intend to do.
Okay, so earn it, says the woman that was appointed, not elected. All right, she is an appointed nominee, not an elected nominee. I don't know what that means. I don't think the American people do either.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for, and I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks.
All right, so here we are. We're a month away from the election. We have two candidates, one that everyone knows with a record that we all remember, and another in Kamala Harris, who is doing something right now that I've never seen before. She's actively campaigning against her own bad policies every day. It's no taxes on tips. Let's close the border. We need to bring prices down. And my favorite, let's turn the page.
I think people are exhausted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're exhausted with the lies. They're exhausted with the selfishness. They're exhausted with the attempt to divide us as Americans. Yes. And they're ready to turn the page and chart a new way forward.
Yes.
And I feel very optimistic about that.
That is why I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
Okay, so we're going to get into this in just a moment, but Kamala wants to turn the page, but at the same time, she can't explain how she would turn the page or do anything differently from what Joe Biden has done for the last 4 years, which is also very confusing and another flip-flop.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
All right, so what does Kamala really stand for, and how did this woman of no particular note, other than being really good at failing up, actually get here? Well, I think these are all questions, and I think these are questions that people should have answers to before November the 5th. But instead, we've got a woman who was crowned Queen of the Democratic Party back in July, and a woman who at a point not so long ago had the lowest approval rating in vice presidential history, lower than Dick Cheney even after he shot that guy in the face bird hunting out in Wyoming. His approval rating after that was actually higher than Kamala's at her very lowest. Yet in July, after whatever really happened at the White House, maybe we'll never know, but Joe Biden was forced out. After that, Kamala was foisted upon the American people. Remember in June, when Democrats were trying to get Kamala off the ticket? I was talking about it every day here on Newsmax. We heard about Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer, maybe Michelle Obama, right? Remember all that talk? What happened? In a matter of 48 hours, all that ended. On a Thursday in July, Joe Biden was still running for president.
I'm the nominee of this party because millions of Democrats like you just voted for me in primaries all across America. You voted for me to be your nominee, no one else. You, the votes, the voters did that. And despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for, well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
Okay, Joe was out of the race 48 hours later, and by Monday it was you better get behind Kamala or else, and literally every Democrat in the country and the media fell in line. I've seen yard signs driving around that are just stunning when you think about what's really going on here. They say Harris, Waltz, comma, obviously. So think about that. Think about the implicit manipulation of a sign like that, the propaganda of a message like that. Kamala Harris, comma, obviously. Now, that sign would make perfect sense, whether you like Kamala or not. If Kamala campaigned, did interviews, won Iowa, went to New Hampshire, won the primaries, actually talked to voters, if she'd been running for the last 2 years. But there is a candidate that's done that, again, whether you like him or not. His name's Donald Trump. Donald Trump, comma, obviously, is actually a yard sign that makes some sense, even, again, if you don't like him. So how did we get to this point? For the next 28 nights, I'm going to look at that. And I'm going to look at why this country right now is letting the current sitting active vice president of the United States run on a slogan, a new way forward.
So now is the time to chart a new way forward.
All right, so I feel like somebody needs to tell her. Someone needs to call the campaign and say, listen, Madam Vice President, you're the sitting vice president, the current vice president. You've got an office at the White House. How can you possibly run on a slogan of a new way forward and expect people to believe it? But she is, and they are. And on Election Day, 70 million odd Americans will probably still vote for Kamala Harris and walk out of the polls and have no idea why. Hope, joy, abortion, these are all words that we hear. But think about that for a moment. Millions of Americans, your neighbors, your friends, right, your family, people you see every day, have been so thoroughly and completely tricked that they're literally going to vote for a woman to fix problems that she created. Every time I see a Harris Waltz sign, I want to knock on the door and in the most polite way possible, tell the person to just snap out of it. Don't fall for this trick. It's been a 3-month magic show, but instead of a rabbit coming out of the hat on November the 5th, it's going to be Kamala Harris if she gets elected. Surprise, gotcha. Now, let's roll back the filibuster, pack the Supreme Court, make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states, and let's fast-track citizenship for the 10 million illegals that I've let into the country over the last 4 years, so they can then vote for me 4 years from now and I can win again. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. And that's why it's so important. That's why there's so much on the line in 28 days. So what does Kamala really stand for? Well, since her 2020 run for president, she has supported the ban on fracking, a ban on plastic straws. She supports Medicare for illegal aliens. She wants to eliminate private insurance, abolish ICE, defund the police. She supports taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries for prisoners, vax mandates, reparations, drag queen story hour, open borders, EV mandates, the Green New Deal, and I can go on, but we've only got an hour. I hear this one a lot too, and it's basically that this entire Kamala creation is the result of people just not wanting Donald Trump again. And to that I say, fine. Okay, everyone's entitled to their perspective. But for anyone that's on the fence, right, you don't have to personally like the person you vote for, but you do have to like their policies, what they stand for, what they plan to do. Look, joy sounds great, but joy is not going to lower gas prices or pay your mortgage. Joy is not a policy.
Why is joy important to you to insert into this election? And what do you make of of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a serious candidate?
Well, sometimes I think, and I'll say to whoever the young people are who are watching this, there are some times when your adversaries will try and turn your strength into a weakness. Don't you let them. I find joy in the ambition of the people. I find joy in the dreams of the people. I find joy in building community.
All right, so you know what the opposite of joy is, right? It's pretty obvious. We've had it for the last 4 years. The opposite of joy is misery. It's despair. It's Kamala Harris in the Oval Office in January.